MMOs, the genre with all the classes and structure, with recently announced delay to September 28th, I've been dealing with withdrawals, just like you will if you don't hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all future New World content. So, with this delay, I decided to think about all the potential builds I played with during the beta. One keeps standing out to me, and no one is really talking about it. I think I found my main for launch, so let's go over it. The sword is capable of being more than just used for tank builds, following the defender tree. I have always tried to go against the green in games and find other paths being different, and in New World, this was no different for me. With my time following the sword master tree, I have come to the conclusion this weapon in the right hands is very tactical and deadly. This build is a dual master build with mainly the focus being one-on-one PvP combat. With the ability to block oncoming attacks, close the gap with leaping strike, being able to stun and slow with an uninterruptible attack with reverse stab, and finish the opponent off with whirling blade. This is meant to be played slow, anticipate, and punish with a very rewarding playstyle in my opinion. With the flexibility to be paired with almost any weapon and be effective, I chose the Warhammer for greater crowd control and to kind of give this more of a Knight Warrior build feel, which in my opinion just kind of complements the sword in this build style regardless, giving you flexibility to tank or be the damage dealer and fill the roles where needed. So let's go ahead and build it. This will be a max strength and any leftover going towards constitution. I personally place all attributes into strength until about 200, then placing about 100 into constitution, and then finishing off the strength attribute to receive the light and heavy attacks gain grit at the maximum strength attribute. Now, talking about armor for this class, I chose medium to ensure that you could take some hits and tank if needed, but also allow you to gain that 10% damage buff and greater dodge distance. Now, this might be getting changed. There has been a lot of outcry from the community about how broken the system kind of is with being able to run 4 heavy and 1 medium and still be considered medium right on the tip. And which is fair because that's kind of what I was doing too, to be honest, with this build. But regardless, I would still go medium for this build, even if they do change it or not. For the perks, I ran with everything on the Swordmaster side, but let's go over some of the key points in the order that I use in combat. I usually try to start with Leaping Strike, dealing 135% weapon damage, and with the skills attached, you can finish off fleeing opponents trying to run by dealing additional 50 damage, or if you're engaging the attack, you can also cause slow for 8 seconds if you hit them in the back. Leaping Strike giving a lot of versatility in where and when you are going to fight. You can use it to close the battle, or you can use it to finish off an opponent that is trying to run. So during this time, you may want to go into Whirling Blade after the first initial attack. From Whirling Blade, I usually go straight into Reverse Stab, a stab that deals 175% weapon damage. Also find this stuns the opponent player when hit. Attaching the Unstoppable Stab makes it, well, unstoppable, and a Tactician also gives all sword cooldowns reduction by 25%. Out of all my abilities on the sword, I think Reverse Stab is the most underutilized. I see that this damage playing against players similar levels, maybe a little bit higher in a duel, you can literally take almost, I want to say, a third of their life, if not almost half, with this attack. It's a very strong, potent attack, and it's good for the middle of the fight because then you can refresh all your cooldowns pretty fast. So I'm just going to highlight some key passive abilities here, which is Achilles Heel. The final light attack chain causes a 20% slow for 2 seconds, and Opportunist granting 10% of additional damage to slowed opponent. Then counterattack, when you block, gain 10% increased damage for 20 seconds. The counterattack is really great for this style of play, playing tactical and waiting for openings. With the final perk being leadership, all group members' damage is increased by 10%, giving your team an overall higher output of DPS. I find running this build with another tank, the rust DPS, and AoE being very effective. So let's go over some of the benefits and negatives of this build. So the strength of this build is to be able to be tactical and control the flow of the battle. You're looking at 1v1, sometimes 1v2. I probably wouldn't go any higher than that because you go a little higher, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. It is not meant to do a lot of AoE or a lot of hit stun damage. And then when you go into the PvE situation, you're going to be playing the role of the tank slash DPS, granting your team with some additional DPS damage output. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the sword is very versatile and you can do quite a lot with it, especially depending on what weapon you actually partner this up with. So what your secondary weapon is going to be. You could run a life staff and have, be able to heal yourself and be kind of a healer, but then switch over kind of like a paladin build. However, you'll be focusing a little bit more on not tanking and actually doing more DPS. But personally for me, I love this build. I think this build is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to playing it at final release. Let me know what you guys' creative builds are. Think outside the box. I kind of want to hear something that's not the common paladin build, tank build. You know, I like seeing the stuff that is outside of the norm, people trying creative things, and that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything for me to look up, please send them my way. I'd love to see this kind of stuff. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked this build video, and until next time, guys, it was Feb, and have a good night.